Short, sweet, and to the point. Hello, everybody. Like how we like it. How we like
the whole
it.
daytime talk show thing going on there.
That's right.
From the 90s.
That's right. I love that theme. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition, kind of a reunion edition of Fins Talk Overtime. If you're not familiar with Overtime, Bret and I used to do this back in the day next to Fins Talk Today. And we go into Overtime. I would do Fins Talk Today with Fish Tank Hank, Overtime with Bret. There's a stupid fly around here. So if you see me grab this electrical current and zap the douchebag, that's what's going on with that.
Also, if you see me have to jump off and Bobby take over for a few minutes, I had the family things going on.
Yes, kids. So, but we thought we'd come in here. So much to talk about. Obviously, you know, with Fins Talk Sports Network, I thank everybody for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button. We did break 1,000 subscribers. I think we're at 1,014 right now. This coming Saturday, tune in to Fins Talk Today with me and Fish Tank Hank. We have to celebrate 1,000 subscribers. We got a giveaway, a hat giveaway. And so we're going to pick up the two people. So whoever's watching, tune in, subscribe, and comment. Make a comment in there saying, hey, we're here. So at the end of the show, we'll make our decision on who gets the hat, and we'll roll from there. It'll be two hats. So, and we'll get.
I'm assuming members of the network need not apply.
Need not apply. No, they're the viewing audience, you know. But Bret, first off, before we roll into this here, we're gonna touch on what happened last week. Just talk on the season really about the Dolphins defense. You know, there was a lot of hype going into the defense this season. You know, obviously we saw what the offense could do last year, or a taste of it. We're seeing what they could do this year, the number one offense in the NFL. But the defense, after we hired Vic Fangio, a lot of people were like, this is a top 10 defense, maybe top 5. Fangio's going to change the landscape, blah, 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 blah. 4 weeks in, not so much. It's like the 24th, 25th ranked defense. Our friend Josh Wingate, host of Beer and Sports, he says, hey, you got to give them a few weeks. You can't just expect it to be week 1, week 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. So I want to touch on that. Is Vic Fangio, has he been exposed, you know, or is it the defense? What's up with the defense? I want to touch on that. But before that, how are you doing, my friend?
Well, I'm good. Working on the car before I jumped in here. So came ready to hear from doing that. Then I had to deal with the kids. But no, I'm good. You know, as good as you can be with the newborn, you know, them not sleeping. But, I'm good. I'm happy that OT's back. This is going to be fun. You know, short to the sweet kind of show. And I know people like that. Plus, people don't want to hear me for too long. So, kind of like to his reach. Never mind.
Oh,
this is past Sunday. Never on time. I want to know. I see. Said I got an Article 15. What the hell did I do? Is it way past my shaving waiver?
That's right. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
I'm excited though because there's a lot to talk about with this past game and stuff I've been talking about since week 1. So, a lot I want to get into with that.
Absolutely. So let's first touch on. I was prepared. I was prepared for you today, and because I knew what you were going to put on your name. And so I have some draft classes here of Mr. Greer. But before we get into Chris Greer, and again, I would hold that conversation for me till the end of the season because you and I, we have, you know, and Evan knows this. Evan's watching. He says, why am I not surprised? Overtime is never on time. No, we thought it would be more traditional. Stick with the tradition. We're never on time. We roll out.
Well, it'd be on time.
That's right. It's our time, though. We're
just struggling to get the play in the headset. That's all.
That's all it is. But man, I do want to touch on because I'm not going to throw in the towel or say, you know, hellfire and burn so it's all over and anything on the defense or on the team. But it is fair for fans who especially were overhyped on this defense, who were hyped on this defense, hyped on this D coordinator, to expect, you know, you get a second year of Bradley Chubb or first full season of Bradley Chubb.
Right, yeah.
4 weeks in, you know, Jalen Phillips in his third year, who's injured obviously, but Andrew Van Ginkel lighting it up. Jalen Ramsey, he's out till November. Xavier Howard had an off year last year. We're expecting him to rebound this year. A lot of things we're looking forward to this season, but even though the defense closed out the week before last, the week before that, it hasn't been the defense we've expected. Especially last week, we got destroyed. Buffalo's offense torched Miami's defense.
Yeah.
So answer me this, man. I'm going to let you take the floor on this one. Has Vic Fangio been exposed? Was he overhyped coming in? What's going on with Miami's defense?
All right. So exposed? Not really. So this system, it's been around a long time. The cover 2 system, what Buffalo runs, is not very complex. It sends your four your front four and your back seven just kind of do what they need to do. They drop in the coverage. A lot of it's in nickel a lot nowadays because of the ability of running backs and tight ends. But they drop the linebackers in the coverage, and it's simple, right? Well, this defense is very similar to that with Vic Fangio. It's not what people expected. People expected this complex defense. He's this genius, all that. Vic Fangio is a good defensive coordinator, but he expects his front seven to do their job. Now, I texted you earlier about this. You look at San Francisco when he was there. You look at the Bears when he was there. Even Denver when he was there. The front sevens were stout, especially a linebacker. The D line did their job. Now, there's a few plays with Miami. The D line actually took up the double teams, and Baker was responsible for two gaps. Long was supposed to fill. Both of them were extremely slow to fill, and they were able to get off the double. The block was able to get off that double team and get to the backers, and touchdown by Cook. So that was kind of frustrating to watch. Like it's simplistic. It's there. Fangio can't do that. He can't do it for him. So the reason why we're seeing less than people expected is what I've been saying for a while since the summer. Fangio isn't the problem. His system is very bland up front, if you will. He does tend to blitz, but he sent 7 and they didn't get home. And Allen had all day to throw, and Allen was Josh Allen that had that cannon wide open receiver. So if you're going to send 7, they better get home. What else is he supposed to do? You send 7 against 5. You expect your guy should win. But that's the problem. Miami's talent is not as good as the fans are saying they are. Wilkins wanted $20-25 million a year. It was reported that Chris Greer offered him that $20-25 million a year, and he turned it down. Greer might have got lucky that one. Sealer, he shows up here and there. He's probably the best defensive lineman we have that's good against the pass and the run, where Davis gets stood up more times than you'd like to see. He's pushed at nose tackle quite often, and he's more of the 5 tech or up tackle than anything, but or 3 tech maybe, but he's really not so much the nose tackle to 0 tech. But if you look at, or the 1 technique really, but if you look at the linebacker play, it's really struggled. Jalen Phillips has not progressed. He kind of tapered off in the middle of last year. He's been schemed home a lot. So early on in this year, I haven't seen Phillips taking that next step either. I haven't seen Chubb being that $100 million defensive end that he's supposed to be. Chubb's only had double-digit sacks 1 time, and that was with Von Miller on the other side. So it's like these guys are just who they are. It's again the frustrating part where this is why we see this happening with the Dolphins year after year after year. It's a problem with the franchise. 2013, we started 3-0, got hit in the mouth against the Saints on the road against a playoff team. 2018, 3-0, got hit in the mouth against the Patriots with the first winning team. 2022, we go on the road against Cincinnati, get hit in the mouth. 4-0, you're 4-0, so elusive to them. So and the bad part was all 3 of those seasons, they hit a losing streak afterwards. And then people, well, injuries this, injuries that. Well, hey, we just lost our left tackle. Connor Williams got hurt. So it's constantly the same thing. Our defense, our front 7, our defense is lacking. It lacked those years as well. It lacked our offensive line's lacking, the lack of run game. So defensively, it looks even worse too when the offense is giving the defense short field. An interception, you're already down 2 touchdowns. A fumble when you're down a couple touchdowns. So it's the defense, yeah, it gave up 48 points. It was bad, but let's not forget how bad the offense was. 3 and outs, an interception, a fumble. How many times did the offense shoot themselves in the foot and give the defense short fieldage? So it's you're not doing the defense any favors. The defense is rested or not rested. They're going back on the field against Josh Allen, and then it frustrated me when Jerome Baker said, "I'm tired of losing to the Bills." Well, play better. You're part of the problem. You're part of the reason we lose to the Bills. There's no aggressive or physicality on defense whatsoever. The guys are not aggressive. Andrew Van Ginkel is probably one of the only guys who's consistently getting in the backfield, playing with that little bit of an edge, that little getting in Josh Allen's face. He plays with that edge. He plays like he's not scared. There's not enough of that on defense. And this has been a downhill spiral with the linebackers in front 7 ever since Joe Philbin took over. And it really feels like a Stephen Ross thing, because if you ever noticed, when he took over, everything started going the flashier route and less of the physical hit you in the mouth route. And it's just been a staple for them, where they don't want to be physical up front. they want flashy and all that, but defensively, they're really paying for it. And Fangio can only do so much. Boyer schemed the front seven to get home and let the back end do their jobs and cover man to man. Whereas Fangio schemes the back end and expects his front seven to do their job. And when your front seven doesn't do their job, doesn't get pressure, quarterback has all day, and now the back end is left exposed with the weaknesses. Now, I will say, why was Kohu on Diggs the entire game? He did not X. Is there a reason for that? Losing Eli Apple, plus Ramsey's already out, and Apple would probably be the better matchup there. And then Bethel, who's a good special teamer, decent guy to fill in, he was getting a little in out of position. And then the safeties, Holland and Jones, where are you at? You guys had Holland had good games all the way up to this point, but against a good offense, against a Super Bowl contender, where are you at? You disappeared. Like where are our stars stepping up?
So, one thing I said before the game, pregame, and I want to thank everybody who's watching and commenting right now. Thank you so much. You're watching Fitz Talk Overtime on the Fitz Talk Sports Network. I know this is a nightmare. Evan thought he was past this, and then he goes on Fitz Talk Sports and finds overtime again. Brett and Bobby sitting side by side. I know he doesn't like this. He calls it. You don't like the realism, no. But I want to thank everybody: Eric, Duke, Evan, Rob, Steve. Everyone tuning in, thank you so much. Anybody new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button and join us on Saturday for our giveaway, our hat giveaway. 2 hats, actually, we're giving away to 2 different people.
Mm-hmm.
But look, first off, something I brought up on pregame with Evan was that the issues of this team. The team was 3-0, and the first game it was a shootout. The defense did nothing to stop Justin Herbert, but the offense did enough to score enough, and it was we saw that. In the second game, they ran the ball well. That was the question of the first game. What happened with running the ball? They ran it well in the second game against the Patriots. Defense did okay. I know it's against Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. Third game, they blow out the Broncos, and it's the Broncos. We get that. It's not a great team whatsoever. But defensively, they held them to 20 points. Offensively, 70 points. But the issues that were on this team were the issues that we discussed during the offseason. Depth on the offensive line, depth in general on this team, linebackers, edge rushers, the run defense, offensive line depth, etc. But the Dolphins were playing next man up. They were actually showing, at least for the first 3 weeks, that, hey, we could mask this, which good teams do. They mask the issues. And then they try to address them the years after. What tells you that this is not just a hiccup in what looks like going to be a good season? What makes you think, dude, this is just more of the same that we're going to see? This is nothing different.
Well, I don't know if it's not going to be a good season. It depends on your feeling of a good season, because like some people say 10 wins a good season.
No, a good season for me is winning a playoff game.
Well, yeah, okay, all right. So, because like we've seen this year in and year out, we see the team can beat bad teams. Now, granted, the Broncos game was the most we've seen ever, obviously, in our lifetime, right? But since a bit day back to the 60s. So, yeah, that was an unheard of stat, and that was unreal. So this is probably the best offense we've had in a long time, but against bad teams. And the offense fell flat against a good team. And, the defense just – they can only scheme so much. They're scheming. Like I said before, they sent 7 a couple times, and they couldn't get home. Like, why am I sending 7 rushers, and there's 5 offensive linemen staying in, everybody else is out? Why are you not able to get home, and Allen's able to throw it downfield? There's no way. Now, if you threw it to the running back made a miss, whatever, screened, that's a little different. But Allen has time and launches it downfield, and what's going on? Like, why are we not getting home? And that's the frustrating part. Like the talent on defense, and I've been saying it for a while. The defensive line, I saw fans saying, "Oh, we're top 5 with defensive line, top 5 in the NFL." And when I said no, we're not, especially with the depth of the D line, they were trying to say, "Yeah." Well, first of all, the one thing people have to understand: defensive line, your depth is key. Your depth is a big part of that, and you have to be able to rotate, but your depth at pass rush has to be good. We're not deep at pass rushers at all. Hell, we don't really have that good at pass rushers. And if you look at championship teams, they want to rush a passer. Here's my gripe with McDaniel. McDaniel said he's going to pound the table for a pass rusher every year. I love that because I love that because you want a pass rusher every year, or you want to constantly get at the quarterback. But we have no pass rushers up the middle. But the Bills bullied us up the middle all game long, and they made it hard on Tua, and that's another frustrating aspect where when it was hard on Tua, he kind of folded, threw a lot of stuff into traffic, he threw a lot of inaccurate passes. People are going, well, he like 300 yards, whatever. But in the big moment, they took the ball out of his hands a few times and gave it to Mostert and were running the ball. But in moments like that, put the ball in your playmaker's hands, which is supposed to be your franchise quarterback, and you have Tyreek Hill, but they couldn't get Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle was a ghost, and in these moments, again, Jalen Waddle's a ghost. So what's happening? These teams are just taking away our best players, and the Buffalo's done that before. They take away our speed with that cover too. And and when they lost Tre'Davious White and they were down to literally one healthy corner and we still couldn't do nothing offensively, that's when I just knew at this point this team is going to have struggles and the tape is on. And now you're looking at Connor Williams is still dealing with a groin injury, and Liam Eichenberg is still going to be the center. And coming up against the Giants and Dexter Lawrence, I have some concerns that we might get upset by the Giants. And if we do, that's when you start ringing the alarms. But the next two games, we're supposed to win. We should win, right? Should be no problem. But then you got Philly.
Yes.
Right? So if you win the next two but then lose to Philly, are we actually a Super Bowl contender?
Well, see, that's why, again, to me, I call it the game against the Chargers, the game against Buffalo, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs, though, and there's other games too, but I'll just go with those. Those are measuring sticks.
Yeah.
If you beat the Broncos, well, you're supposed to beat the Broncos, and that's great. Any given Sunday, any win's a good win, but you're supposed to win those games.
Right.
The Panthers and the Giants, you're supposed to win those games. Now, I'm not worried about the Giants. Panthers are, and I don't mean like, I'm worried that they could actually beat Miami in that way. But I mean is I don't want Miami to overlook Carolina to look towards Philly. Miami has to get the job done with those two football teams. They have to show that they could make it past adversity. I will say, too, and I want to say hello to Manny and Finn's Tailgate in the house. Daniel, thank you all for tuning in.
Evan, you love the mental abuse.
Yeah.
Costanza, you love it.
Yeah, he likes it. He's just lying.
And he wants to be my latex salesman.
That's
sorry.
But this game was a measuring stick, and what it said for Miami is, and again, yes, you could say, hey, coaching, bad decisions. You could talk about talent, overall. Even though you look at Miami's individual talent, and it's pretty, and especially on defense, Miami has individual talent is really good on defense, but the combined defense wasn't good. The one thing I will say though is, as much as I hear where you're coming from, that loss, it was devastating, but at the same time, it's coincidental to me because for me, it's like, okay, we just came off a huge win, 70-20. That's a real high, no matter how easy it was. Your team is, and Tua, who I don't put, Tua, made some errors in that game, but honestly, I'm not going to put it on him because, again, like you brought up, he was getting hit. This was the first time the offensive line was not giving him time. And so he had to force throws and everything. Jalen Waddle was frustrated. He wasn't included. Danny brought that up on the pregame on his channel on Battered Fin Fans. Tyreek wasn't the same. And Miami, again, McDaniel went back to his last year in his old familiar last year's role with leaving the run. He didn't use the run enough, especially when you have someone like Achin who's doing damn well. So I would say, you could blame the coaching. You could talk about overall Buffalo win, lose. Buffalo beat us. They proved it's still the big brother in the East. But I would also credit that loss to coming off a huge high in week 3. When you get, if you're having a great night the first night, I don't drink, but you go party, you're drinking, you're on a huge high the following night. The next day, you're going to crash. And that's what happened. Miami crashed. And credit to Tua and Tyreek. They said, hey, you know what? We actually needed this because there's some guys on this team that were not taking it seriously. They thought they were invincible. This loss looks bad, But in the end, I believe it could help Miami throughout the season. It may actually help Miami against Philly or Kansas City because Miami knows, hey, we need to come with our A game. Let's not do 70 against a cheap team. Let's take our guys, let's sit them back, and then bring that 70 point or that potential 70 point against a team like the Eagles or the Chiefs. It's a measuring stick game. You're not wrong. But at the same time, that's what I think. Like when I'm saying week 3 going into week 4, I see it more as a crash than an actual burn.
Well, all right. So the way I see this, what
did Sanders do? Why bring up Sanders? Evan?
Somebody mentioned in the comments that he's a Sanders jersey. All right. So you can look at this a couple ways, and if you look at it as the Dolphins are doomed, they're not going to win again, and all that. Okay, that's a little dramatic. But overall, this is what happens when your talent isn't good enough. I always push back on that Miami's individual talent is the most talented team of the last 20 plus years. I would take the 2003 Dolphins over the 2023 Dolphins. And the only issue I would have with that is I don't have Tyreek Hill. But I have a playoff winning quarterback on my roster. So I have a quarterback that when the chips were down, he actually stepped up more. See all of his comeback wins and the toughness. Now, Fiedler was not a great quarterback, and we still need to be better. But I would take that offensive line. I would take Ricky Williams over every single running back on this roster. I would take those linebackers every single day, that defensive line, that secondary, all over everybody we have. But the problem is we didn't have the explosive plays on that offense, right? So you have to give or take. This Dolphins team offensively, you remove Tyreek Hill from the game plan like the Bills did, the Chargers did last year. As soon as you do that, the Dolphins become one-dimensional. And real quick on Achane, again, the pass blocking becomes an issue. They're limiting him. He'll get more reps, but it's you put him in there, you kind of hope he can still run through, and they're not just going to take the run away.
So let me ask you. You said something about you would take Ricky Williams over anybody on this running. Our runners. Look, HN is showing, and it's a small sample size. Right, it goes with the whole season. You can't take one game and say it's all over. You can't take 3 games and say it's proven that we're going to be great. It's the season. It's game by game. As our friend,
I'm a big HN fan. I wanted to draft him, by the way.
I know, absolutely. So my question, look, because I don't think Miami done, and on Finn's Talk today this weekend, we're going to talk about 5 moves the Dolphins can make or should consider at the deadline that may help this football team.
Devin White.
All right. So what'd you say?
Devin White. Give me a real
linebacker. Okay, so that was my question. If there's one, if you would advocate Miami to make any moves to address maybe the defense, what if so who? And you say linebacker Devin White.
Yeah, because I think at this point your defensive line is it's not subpar, right? The linebacker room is subpar. That I don't think Baker Long was starting on the Titans, but he didn't have a hot market either. And Baker would be more of a nickel linebacker, but I don't think Baker and Long are basically the same linebacker. Tyndall, it was reported that he struggles to learn the playbook. I don't know what's going on with him. He's obviously not ready, not learning it. A waste of a pick. Duke Riley, he's played flashed in moments, but he's been a special teamer, a leader on special teams, so he has a role as far as that goes. But you have to upgrade linebacker, and I'm sorry, but I don't see Baker as a starting linebacker in a lot of defenses or the premier linebacker in a lot of defenses. You have 2 average at best linebackers. So I think if you get a linebacker that can upgrade your defense, a lot of people say, "Oh, Devin White's not good against a run, this and that," because he had one down year. His down year was better than Jerome Baker's good years. So, I would take Devin White all day, and he covers better. He actually gets depth in his coverage. He actually takes the passing lanes away. Oh, and by the way, he's only 25 years old. He's won a Super Bowl, and he can flat out cover guys like Josh Allen and be able to be sideline to sideline with Josh Allen. And we saw him do that in the Super Bowl with Mahomes. And then another guy I would like to go after, I would love to on his team. I'd love to have a guy like Vita Vea or somebody like that. But
so
I don't know if he's available or not.
Let me just say, for me, and again, I don't want to say any names because you said 2 names that aren't on the list that I'm going to talk about. But Vita Vea. So for me, my question for you with Devin White, but I'm glad you brought up Vita Vea, is pass rush. I mean, no, not pass rush, run blocking, rushing defense, because we can't stop the run. We're struggling stopping the run. So Vita Vea would help with that.
Yes. Also struggling to stop the run. Part of it is that the idea with this defense is to keep everything in front of you. Remember the Colts defense? People got so frustrated that the Colts defense wasn't very good at stopping the run and all, and that's what the zone coverage helps with. Everything's supposed to stay in front of you, where it forces you to say, "I'll give you chunks, but you're going to have to pass it." This defense really is made to play with the lead, which is not good for our offense, because if our offense struggles or whatever, like we saw, this is what happens. Shootouts, we end up getting the worst of it. But anyway, so stopping a run is there, but it's kind of by design, but it's when you have guys who aren't very good at stopping a run anyway, you hurt yourself. So Vita Vea would actually help you, where he would win even when you're kind of like allowing him to kind of run. He would still help you there and improve that. And he actually beats double teams. I would trade Christian Wilkins for Vita Vea straight up if I could. Now, he signed a 4-year, $71 million contract in 2022. He's cheaper, I think, than Wilkins. I'd trade him straight up, in my opinion.
So,
I actually think he's younger.
We're talking about running back very quick. I just want to touch on this very quick. And I know we're talking on defense right now, but you mentioned running back, because I love what I saw from H.N. and I believe in him. I'm a fan of his. What he's doing, it's a small sample size, but you could see that, dude, the way he's reading the holes, the patience he's running it, the way he's running, you can see he's gonna be a weapon for this offense and in this NFL. But people, when I see somebody say, "Oh, don't trade for this guy," we have H and we're fine.
That's dumb.
That's it, because Mozart had an off game. They went away from him. He was, and even though he's been strong the last couple weeks, he's only here for a year. Miami's a running back by committee team. Okay. Mm-hmm. And if you only rely and you go, "Oh, we only have H, we have H and we're good," you put him at risk when because he's going to be overused, he could be hurt, etc. I think Miami is still should be still into consideration. I believe they are, for looking at running backs.
Yes.
I believe that is a case. And I think, there's a report now with Jonathan Taylor that he's working it out with the Colts, that things seem to be good. That's perfect. But there are still running backs available out there. I mean, I would say a thumper. Again, I'm all about a thumper. And again, if Miami doesn't do it, I'm fine, because I'm comfortable with what we have. But if there's a thumper out there, and that's a guy who trucks and everything, compared to H&C,
creates his own lanes.
Say what? Yes. Then I think that's still a huge possibility for Miami, because adding a running back does not stop H&C or his growth, because he could be used in so many ways.
I'm trying to say that before.
Because look at how they used Mozart with H&C. H&C got more carries, got over 200 yards, and Mozart still had total 100 and some odd yards receiving and running. So Miami knows how to use the two-back system, but can they rely on this other back? So I would say, don't sleep on running back. You said that earlier about, you would take Ricky over anybody here. Yeah. There's guys out there, and maybe not the guy in Indianapolis, but there's a certain guy, number 22, who might be available because of this team is struggling. Reese Craig, I'm not going to say names, but if you know who your numbers and your running backs, that's the guy I'm talking about.
Well, I don't know if I go that route or not, but I know the whole thing, and Greer loves Alabama guys, but I would definitely
Fournette. I'm down with Fournette.
Yeah,
I'm down with Fournette.
The thing is, I'm trying to tell people all the time, it's hard to explain it. I like Raheem Mostert.
I do a lot.
Raheem Mostert, that catch in double coverage again. I like, bad ball, but at the same time, give your guys a chance to go for the ball. That's cool with me. And so anyway, Mostert showed that ability to go up and get the football. He's not going anywhere. That Jonathan Taylor trade, even if they got him, it would have been mainly Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson lost his job to Deebo Samuel. I don't know if people pay attention to that. When Mike McDaniel was the run game coordinator trying to get a run game going. Jeff Wilson last year, I think the trade was kind of like, let's just get somebody in here that knows our system that could be halfway decent, better than Edmonds and what we have. And so Jonathan Taylor would still be their back, but they would use Mostert and A-Chain a lot. Next year going forward, it would just be Jonathan Taylor and A-Chain, not I don't think Mostert would be in the future plans, but Mostert, there's a reason he's not a number one back, and it's mainly the injuries, and because he does run violent, and it plays a toll, which is why he's on a pitch count. And Achan, who they put him on a pitch count. One, he's a rookie, he's young, and they don't want to beat him up already. And he's a smaller back, and he likes to run behind his pads. So Jonathan Taylor mixed in would all of a sudden give us a better offense. When you don't have a good offensive line, you bring in a powerful back. You bring in a good back who makes his own blocks. That's how you fix that. If I was told before by someone who used to call plays in college, if you don't have an offensive line, you need a good back. If you have an offensive line, if you don't have a good offensive line, a good back makes up for it. If you have a good offensive line, it can make up for or for average backs. And I agree with him when he said our running back room is largely made up of just average guys, just decent backs. And Eric, I agree. We should use Chris Brooks. I know he's not explosive, but he churns it out and he's tough. He's physical. But a guy like Jonathan Taylor changes your offense. He gives you that physical tenacity that we don't have on either side of the ball. And that's what we really need is somebody just physical and just punch in the mouth. Like we're lacking that. And anybody who thinks Jeff Wilson is a power back, you're not looking at him right. He is a bigger back. He does run with some power, but I think most are breaks more tackles. Wilson runs too upright, but he keeps losing his job. He's a decent back, but it's not like he's going to save the season when he comes back. And I think Jonathan Taylor gives you that edge on offense.
Well, and I would just want to say this about Chris Brooks, because you said that when we signed him off Andre, give you your flowers. You were like, "Hey, I like this guy." You liked him before then, and you liked you as soon as we did. You're like, "I like this signing, Chris Brooks. Watch this kid." When I was following training camp and watching what I saw before preseason, I was on it, and then no, I'm not nodding off. I'm writing notes because I don't want to forget. Okay, I know to spew, because I do want to touch on Greer very quick. Again, and it's not. I'm going to play devil's advocate here with Bret. I'm going to let Bret. I'm going to do this with I got notes here, and I want Bret just to go, and because I'm going to hold it till after season. Because to me, it's like, look, whatever happened before the season. Or years before, it's years before. I'm worried about this season. And then the end of the season, if it all goes to hell again, then I'll go for it. But that's what I'm doing. So I'm not nodding off. Achan is not elite. He's historic. 11 yards per carry. You do not like my song Above. What song? Did you believe it or not? Oh, okay. I knew it. As soon as believe it or not, I know what you're doing. Believe it or not, the Dolphins.
Well, he's right though. They don't get home. Their pass rushers are not that good. They're very overrated by the fans. Also, that's Greg awesome. Rousseau, somebody I liked in the draft, and we ended up getting Phillips, and I was a Phillips fan of that. It sucks because Rousseau seems to be better. Maybe it's that system, but he seems to do his job better.
Help me out. Help me understand, because I like what I've seen from Phillips. I understand, he should, he is, where he's drafted and everything. You expect everything, but where's the disconnect, Bret? Like, where's the disconnect with Phillips compared to others like myself and others that say, hey, no, I like his growth. I see it in him. Again, I'm not expecting to be Jason Taylor, but he is. I see his growth. What am I missing?
Because one, he's not playing to his talent level, right? So he's more talented than he's playing, if that makes sense. Like he's got more talent than you're seeing on the field. Like his bend it comes and goes. He doesn't have a repertoire of pass rush moves. I don't know if it's like confidence in his hands or just kind of like he's practicing them, but then in the moment he doesn't know how to use them. It's like someone who studies martial arts or boxing. It's like you do really good like with the bag and your hand movement, and then when you get in the ring, like you just kind of like forget what to do with your hands in that moment. So if he learns more hand usage, would be better. He'll be able to get off blocks better and get home quicker. He's like a half a step too late. So this is not me saying he's a terrible pass rusher at all. He's still a good pass rusher. He gets pressures, but he doesn't finish enough. And I saw people putting him in the TJ Watt category. He's not there.
No, right? That's rich. That's too rich.
Right. So he's not there in the upper echelon. He's getting closer. Right now, he's kind of like an average guy. He's like where Nick Chubb is. Like he's decent, but he's not like getting to that next level. And a lot of it's his hand usage. And then on the other aspect, he goes inside a lot. Like he follows a path of least resistance. And when you're coached on the defensive line, you always try to fight through the block. And the reason you do that is because that's where the blocker doesn't want you to go. If it's easy, the blocker is allowing you to go there. And you're going around the play. You know what I mean? So if I'm blocking, if I'm trying to block you in, and you go out, well, and I don't really give you resistance, well, I want you to go out because the play's not there. If I block you out and you're trying to go in and I'm not letting you in, that's where you need to go. You know what I mean? Like, so that's a lot of the problem. He'll take the inside cut and then it leaves the edge exposed. And that's why we'll get beat on the edge by speed, because he'll get in the backfield and people will see him in the backfield like, oh, Phillips almost made that play. Well, he has the athletic ability to do so, but he'll overrun it. So if he's gonna keep taking the inside route, he's going to break down and get across a running back's face, and then it'd be better. Or stay to the outside, disengage the block, and make the play. So again, he's not terrible, but he's flashes more than he's consistent. So it's like and you can't expect him to win a pass rush situation unless it's like obvious passing downs or you give him like a little bit of help. So I think he could be good, but he's not there yet. Like it's not. I don't know how else to explain that. Same thing with Holland. Like the talent is there, and Holland is a fantastic tackler, forces fumbles, but coverage wise, like he makes some plays, but it's like take that next step and finish plays, and you're just not seeing enough of them finishing plays. Now, this is not me saying I would kick Phillips and Holland to the curb. You know what I mean? I would still give them time to grow, but I wouldn't like count my eggs before they hatch on that, because I don't know what they're eventually going to be at this point.
So let me just very quick, okay, and then we're going to touch on Greer in a second. But first
Eric,
off,
yes, he does have to get stronger.
Daniel, I would say that my priority, if you're telling me between linebacker and defensive line, I'd say defensive line. I'd add a D lineman, a nose tackle.
I'd have to see the level of play for what's available to tell me
who's available. Yeah, so
we should have got Roquan Smith, who I wanted, and we got Chubb, and I was like, oh, not bad.
Yeah, but I also want to just do a quick pushback on Daniel. And Daniel, you know, I appreciate you watching. We've done this in the past, so we'll push back on you, Bobby. We're not giving up picks in draft. This is Chris Greer. If there's an impact player that's available that he thinks could help this team, especially when it's trying to make a Super Bowl run, he will give up picks in a draft to go get them.
Because he can't find them in the draft.
Tyreek, Jalen, Tyreek, Jalen Ramsey, Nick Chubb. Should we go on?
I would have loved Nick Chubb.
Not Bradley Chubb, Jalen Ramsey.
We got Bradley Chubb. I wanted Nick Chubb, so we got a Chubb on offense.
Yeah,
defense,
so
but
when it comes to Grandma, hey Grandma, hey Grandma's watching. Appreciate you, Grandma. Love you. But yeah. So you would hope not, because they got a limited amount of picks. But if there's someone available that Miami knows that they believe will help them make their run, you damn right they're going to use their draft picks. Mm-hmm. We may want them to keep their draft picks, but they've shown that they're going to use it. But let's talk about the draft for a second, or let's talk about Chris Greer. And we got a few minutes left. Yep. So I want to run through this list very quick. You know where I stand. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Mm-hmm. Okay. You know where I stand on the Greer situation, because you and I have plenty of conversations. But you're riding the train. Cancel Nick Scruggs.
I'm leading the train.
So welcome to the show. Appreciate you watching. All right. So he started drafting his first official draft. We know he's been around for 20 years on the Dolphins, but his first official draft as general manager making decisions was 2016. Mm-hmm. That's right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
He was a GM in 2016, and he was in charge of the draft according to Mike Tannenbaum.
According to Tannenbaum. Okay, so we're going to give him that. Okay. So I just highlighted, it's not about really kind of star power or whatever, but guys who started, guys who've made, etc. That's what I'm highlighting here. And this is where I'm going to go through the draft. And you tell me, after you can make your opinions as I'm going through the list by the end of each draft class. But towards the end, we're going to follow up on what you think, because you think we should fire him. You're like, hey, I've seen enough. And that's not addressing the depth situation. Hey, we're worried about more than the offensive line than he is. And you see what happened last week. You talk about all the draft classes, and now there's some names. He's hit on some, and he's a general manager. So he's hit on some, even though, you count scouting and all that. But overall, okay, so his first draft as general manager selected Laramie Tunsil, who we know didn't last in Miami. He didn't last there, but we used him to make those big trades, get all those draft picks. We traded for Tyreek with those picks, et cetera, et cetera. Tunsil, Xavier Howard, Kenyon Drake, Leonte Carew, Jakeem Grant, Jordan Lucas, Brandon Doughty, Thomas Doherty.
And it's been reported that Tannenbaum's the one that traded up for Carew. That was a Tannenbaum move.
Yeah. Okay. So, but 4 out of, let's take Carew out, just for as in giggles. But so 4 out of those 7 picks were contributors, starters. Yeah. Okay. Laramie Tunsil, Xavier Howard, all pros. Kenyon Drake. Jakeem Grant. Okay.
Yeah. So that was a draft that I thought we were headed in the right direction.
Solid
because Tunsil was a hit. He fell in our lap, and they didn't overthink it. They drafted him. Xavier Howard, I loved it from the beginning, and look what he's turned into.
Absolutely.
And then Drake, injury prone, but contributor, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jakeem Grant, but he made plays, returner, he just couldn't catch.
Our best returner we had in a few years.
Yeah, he has, absolutely.
Yeah, he was a good returner.
The second draft, which 2017 was just a dud.
Atrocious, yeah.
The only 2 I highlighted on here was, so the first pick was Charles Harris. Second, Raquan McMillan, Tankersley, the corner.
Bad.
Isiata, the guard. Devin Gotcha. Asiata, excuse me. Vincent Taylor and Isaiah Ford. The only 2 I've highlighted here is Raquan McMillan and Gotcha. 2 out of 7.
Well, McMillan hurt his knee and never recovered form. I was really excited about that because he was a fantastic linebacker. He was really good. He was a thumper, strong, and tore his knee, and he was never the same. And then Gotcha and Vincent Taylor were decent tackles for a while. Gotcha got a second contract. Tankersley was just bad.
Yeah, it was a bad pick.
Isaiah Ford chewed him up, by the way, in the film, and
so
we drafted Isaiah Ford.
So the next draft, 2018, strong. I mean, if you think overall, Minka Fitzpatrick, Mike Gesicki, Jerome Baker, Durham Smythe, and these are contributors. I'm not saying everybody, Baker's garbage. To us, he's garbage because he's not, he struggles, but he's a contributor. He's a starter. So Smythe after that. Then you go Balaj, Carnell Armstrong, Poling, and Jason Sanders. So 5 out of 8 of those picks worked. Okay.
Yeah. Sanders worked. All right.
Sanders worked, Evan. He's still here.
That was the best player for that draft, just to get Evan going.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the draft I wanted Derwin James.
Oh, dude, don't do that. Don't.
I was so Derwin. I actually wanted Vita Vea. Remember, fans did not want Vita Vea that draft.
I remember that.
I was like, man, I'm all about it. What are you talking about?
Hey, we did again. Now look. So go on a year later, and that was a solid draft, I think. If you go 5 out of 8, you think, well, except we lost. We don't have the 2, so I guess you could count that as not. But you got 3 guys who are still on the roster.
I still was not a huge Gesicki guy at first.
Sure.
The blocking part got me. I told you about that before.
Well, I think we both had that.
Yeah, I wanted Andrews and Goddard.
Yes.
Yeah, we were on Dolphins Talk together. We both talked about that same thing.
I didn't say Taylor. I just brought up how Taylor, Daniel, is with Bret continued to tell. I'm saying another guy. You're killing me with Taylor. I didn't say Taylor.
Yeah, I said Taylor. I still think they're in on Taylor.
And whatever you think, Dan. Anyway, 3 out of 6 for 2019. You got Christian Wilkins, Mike Dieter, Andrew Van Ginkel, who is the best player on defense right now, Isaiah Prince, Chandler Cox, and Myles Gaskin. 3 out of 6 because Gaskin was a contributor.
Yeah, Gaskin. I mean, the 7th round pick. What do you expect? He still hung on the roster, was decent, made some plays. So I mean, that's all you can expect. Andrew Van Ginkel overplayed his draft, but Wilkins just good. But again, like Jeffrey Simmons was there, Dexter Lawrence was there. You took him instead, and he doesn't rush the quarterback as well as either one of those 2. So I like him, but yeah.
Let me see here. Just want to make sure.
My favorite one's coming up.
It is coming up. So,
by the way, that was his first draft without any restraints or coaches or anybody in his way. Just let's throw it out there.
That's right. So this next one is, the big one, I guess you'd call it. 6 out of 11 I highlighted on here. Of course, Tua, who we see what he is, what he's doing right now. We've seen the growth. Austin Jackson, still jury's out on him. Okay, he's a starter. Noah Benogany, I didn't highlight him. Robert Hunt, Raquan Davis, Brandon Jones, Solomon Kinley, Strawbridge, Curtis Weaver, defensive end, Blake Ferguson, Malcolm Perry. I highlighted Ferguson, Jones, Davis, Hunt, Jackson, Tua. 6 out of 11. Hindsight, as a critic of, and not in a bad way, people could say that, but not in a bad way. But you were a critic of Tua. I know what we wanted before the draft, but he's answered a lot of questions for me. I like what I'm seeing from him now, especially with a coach who supports him, a system that is comfortable for him. Tell me what you've seen these last 4 games, maybe even last year, but the last 4 games with Tua, because you have a lot of high expectations and you had a lot of criticisms, but even you have come along a little bit on our private messages saying, hey, you like what you're seeing, but what are some things that you love that you're seeing from him that say, hey, this is what I wasn't seeing, but now I am? And what are the things that you still think he needs to work on to get you to buy his jersey?
So the things I love is when the system's on time, and he has time, he's comfortable in the pocket, everything's going, everything's clicking, and he's pushing the ball downfield. He's not afraid to make some throws. He's giving guys chances, and he's on time, on target. Like all that stuff is working. He's maneuvered in the pocket really well, which he did the first couple of weeks really well. I like that. What I don't like is when things start getting muddled for him, when things start getting crowded, it gets cover 2. For some reason, cover 2 gives him fits. And I don't know if it's because the windows are tighter in cover 2 for him and he doesn't trust his arm on the outside, but outside the numbers is where he started struggling again against cover 2. So it's something that I'm not liking to see. And when things kind of fell apart, he kind of fell apart. So I want to see him I'm glad he's staying. The other good thing, he's staying healthy. He's getting hit. He's you see him tucking his chin. I know it sounds silly, but he is tucking his chin. He's staying up.
Absolutely.
So I think he's been staying healthy. He did get rocked 9 times last week, and he didn't get hurt. He didn't miss, and wasn't bad. I mean, that's all been improved. But again, it's still in big moments we need him to step up. And in Buffalo last year, he played a lot better than he played this year. So first quarter looked like it started being like last year's shootout, and then it just fell off. So that's what I don't like. As far as the rest of that draft,
yes.
Austin Jackson, so far, everything you've mentioned with these players, we're saying contributors, right? We're highlighting because they've contributed. But how many of them have been like all pro level? Yeah, Larry Tunsil, we traded. We never found a replacement left tackle. And let's look at the 2021. We had a chance at 3. And I wasn't I'm not big on drafted tackles high, but you had a chance at 3 to go ahead and take the kid out of Oregon and Sewell and get Penei Sewell and have this mean, nasty left tackle. And instead you don't. But look what the Lions do. They go get Penei Sewell, and then a couple rounds later, they go get Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it's like they got themselves a beast of a receiver and a beast of a tackle, and they already had a beast of a left tackle who's underrated. Like, damn, we could have done that. And I like Waddle, but the offensive line, we still have yet to replace Tunsil. And you can't tell me Armstrong or Armstead does that because he's been injured a lot. So it's like it becomes frustrating with that. And
so talking about that draft, 2021, drafted Jalen Waddle. Of course, the huge debate. It was obvious Miami was going receiver with that.
Right.
Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts is there.
Where they traded down and they traded back up, it would have been stupid to not go receiver at that point.
Exactly.
There's a couple good ones there, so you might as well.
Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, Eichenberg. Those are the 4 I highlighted. Eichenberg more as a contributor. I don't want people to go, we know he's trash. I get that, but he still has been a starter as a tackle, a starter as a guard. Now he's starting at center. Hunter Long, Leonard Coleman and Jared Dukes.
I actually thought Hunter Long would have been better. I don't know.
Rashawn Slater.
We could have got Slater there.
Well, I mean, Tristan Wirfs, there was a lot of good ones that Miami just, but the second one, 22, they only had 4 picks. Channing Tindall, Easy E, Cameron Good, Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson came in when he needed to, got to the playoffs. So I guess you could count that. And Eric, Easy E. So there's 2 out of 4 there.
I mean, Easy E, he hasn't barely been on the field. Now he's got this neck injury since college he's dealing with. And how did he not notice that? And then the other aspect, too, with him is he was inactive for how many weeks last year? And with the weak receiving core we have, last year was worse. You're telling me he couldn't get on the field over Trent Sherfield? Craycraft beat him out again. Cedric Wilson.
Well, that's the draft, right? The 22 draft is
we got Tyreek and all, yeah. And then Tyndall, but I mean, you still want to make your picks count. 3rd and 4th round picks, you want to make them count.
They're the most important picks, in my opinion. Yeah, those mid-round picks.
Tyndall can't get on the field, and I like Tyndall because I told you before he tackles really well and he's fast, but up here has to get there. He got beat out by 3 different linebackers that got there after him. That's bad in Georgia. That is.
And of course, this year, Cam Smith, Devon Achane, Elijah Higgins, Ryan Hayes. Elijah Higgins is now gone. Ryan Hayes is on the practice squad. Devon Achane is showing out. And then Cam Smith, nothing right now. We're just waiting to see what occurs from that.
Yeah.
So 26 out of 55. What's the percentage of that? That's 81 total picks.
What is it? 26 out of 55?
Yes. That I have highlighted here. And
26 26 you count as good, or
divided
by 55, it's 47%.
Okay.
So now here's where people go with so look how many players he's hit on. Okay, what counts as a hit? Okay, you find some starters. Yeah, you're gonna have drafts where you find a guy. Okay, he starts. He's long-term starter. This and that. Okay, yeah, cool. But where are the impact players that he's drafted? It's hard to name any. Yeah, they could have. But where are the impact players? Where are they at? Waddle, let's give Waddle impact player. I think he's fast. He's explosive. He's made some plays.
Sure.
Let's give Waddle. He's made enough plays. He's disappeared at times, but he's made enough plays.
Well, Waddle's impact. Holland.
So we'll call
impact.
We'll call Achane an impact player. Holland, he's an inconsistent impact player, but he does force turnovers. But where's the rest of them? Phillips hasn't been an impact player. You know what I mean? Tyndall hasn't been. Easy E hasn't been. Then his free agents. Cedric Wilson sure wasn't. Edmonds wasn't. Mostert. Let's say Mostert has been because when they rely on him, he usually performs. So Wilkins hasn't really been an impact player against the run. He has, but against the pass, not so much. Sealer's been a good impact player against the rush. So it's that's where I'm talking about. We have impact players like Tyreek and Waddle, but it's not enough. And we need Tua to be that impact player consistently against good teams. And we've seen him be an impact player. Can he do that against good teams? Defensively, Holland can be an impact player. I'll say he's an inconsistent impact player. Let's put it that way. Because Holland does make plays. And there's times where he doesn't. If he can find that consistency, he could be an impact player and a damn good safety. Again, that's why I won't give up on him. Phillips, same thing. If he can be consistently making impact plays, then you're talking worlds apart difference there. So, but that's the problem. You need on defense, the good defense have an impact player at every level. Defensive line, linebacker, safe or secondary. Offense, you need one at least on the offensive line. We don't have an impact player on the offensive line, and that's okay. Sometimes you don't, but we don't have it at tight end. We don't have it at running back too much. Mostert's fringe kind of thing. Achane could be that. Right now, he's showing to be, and I'm going to call it 2 games. I'm not going to say 3 because I'm going to say the yards he got because it's 2 games he played the most. He's shown to be an impact player.
He has.
I mean, against Buffalo, chips are down. He didn't care. That big run he had kind of gave us the juice. So Achane is an impact player, but we still need some more, and we need more from our impact players. Tyreek disappeared.
Let me just say this because we're talking about the free agent signings, hit and miss We'll talk about the draft hit and miss, but trades, hit and miss, but that's where he's best at. He makes deals, and whether they hit or miss, it doesn't matter. So I think we're both in the sense that if there's a deal to be made via trade this season, he's going to make it. Right.
And and he's hit on some guys in free agency too at the same time. Connor Williams, I'm going to call that a hit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I just don't like how you pushed him to center without a backup plan at center, and I don't like how you signed Teron Armstead without a backup plan to him.
Yeah, so, absolutely. But I know it's tight on time here. We're almost at the hour, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in at Chubb is Garbage. I'm going to wait till the end of the year.
I don't say he's garbage. He's just not
that.
Performing at that $100 million. We need him to step up.
If he was a lower amount, I think people would be a little more nicer.
Give him a first form. We need him to just step up.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens there. But Eric, I always appreciate you. Daniel, Josh Wingate, Raphael, Evan, Rob, Steve, everybody. Make sure I don't want to miss no one. Bearded, Manny, everyone for tuning in. Finn's Tailgate. Thank you all. Bret, it was nice doing this with you again.
It was fun. We'll do it again.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully after a win.
That's right. Oh, yeah, that's all right. We'll get it.
What went right?
That's right. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. You'll see us again. Well, I don't know about Food Bar on Friday. We'll see. We'll find out about that. But, guys, if you don't know Food Bar, if you love sports in general, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, they talk about it all.
Speaking of wrestling, pay-per-view this Saturday for WWE, so maybe we should do a show Friday.
Maybe you should.
Yes.
That'd be awesome. But you got Once Upon a Sunday that should be coming on right now. Fantasy football. Tune in right now to those guys. We got 8:30. You have soccer. That's offsides. Tomorrow, if you want to get more positive outlook, if someone like Evan, you don't like this, if you consider this negative, which I don't, but if you consider it, then watch the bandwagon tomorrow with Evan Positive and Fish Tank Hank at 8:00. And then Saturday, of course, Finn's Talk Today. Tune in live. If you want a chance at winning a Dolphins hat, we're giving away to 2 people. So you got to be watching live. You got to be a subscriber. You got to comment. And then we got, of course, all day Dolphins coverage on Sunday. You got pregame with me, Evan, and, of course, Bret, if Bret's available. And, of course, postgame with the whole team. Until then, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and most importantly, fins up. See you guys next time.